Greetings. Welcome to another episode of Bound in Peace. I'm Brandon, sitting here with my beautiful wife, Chelcy.
Hey y'all, how y'all doing out there?
So I want to talk about preparation, putting yourself in the correct mental state. Basically anything that you yourself into, I feel like you should have the awareness of every aspect, the ups and downs,
That takes the fun out of it.
because basically I personally, I feel like a lot of people sign up for things that they don't know what they're getting themselves into. And that's how they end up folding or giving up or realizing, oh, this is not for me.
As the older I get, the more I get away from that belief. Like, I used to feel as though I had to calculate everything. And I would do all these calculations before I took a move just to end up like not doing it or seeing or doubting it or looking at, oh, how am I going to mess this up? And I just started living life. Like, I feel like that's so contradictory to life in a way. Like, it's okay to have a plan, but you have to be prepared for it to go off the rails often. You have to be prepared to get up and pick back up. And I feel like that just leaves so many room for having expectations to sit there and calculate and figure out everything it is to that what could go wrong or what you could, surprise yourself upon when it comes to situations and decisions to make. And it's, in my opinion, it's putting unnecessary worry and anxiety toward the situation. Like, for instance, with this podcast, I never in my head said, oh, I'm going to be embarrassed by messing up or stumbling upon my words or rude comments or anything like that. And Brandon presented that to me. He was like, because it's inevitable for me to be a star. We all know that. He's basically saying, like, I have to be ready for people to, you talked about like doing back and forth with people. What was the term that you came up with? Hecklers and stuff like that. And I just never like, I've seen, obviously I've seen other famous people, like, it happened to a lot of celebrities and things like that. Like, a lot of celebrities get tore up online, and it just was never a thought for me because I know the reason why I'm doing this, to help others. I'm not causing any ill will intentionally to others. And if there is a case where I would love for someone to, break that down with me. But I'm just a person that likes to just jump into things and not think about it. And I don't know if me and Brandon like switch places, but he was definitely the impulsive one in the beginning of the relationship, down to like us getting married like 2 months after we started dating. He said that he knew that I was when he's ready to get married. And I was like, hey, aren't you supposed to be like scared and nervous before you get married? You know what I'm saying? Like, why, if you know that someone is the one, why should you add unnecessary fear and anxiety and worry to something that you know for sure is going to work out for you? You know what I'm saying? And that's just a perfect example in my eyes of what that is, because when you look at society and the pressures of others around you, there's this image that we like to follow or we think is going to happen. And marriage is one of them. Like, oh, you're going to, all they say is, oh, well, couples, every day is not going to be perfect, and couples argue. Well, we don't have to argue. We can sit and talk things out. But why is it necessary that we argue and fight? You know what I'm saying? That's just one example. And it's just programming from generation to generation, generation. A lot of people like to call them generational curses or what have you. But I don't agree with having to sit and write down every single thing about a thing, because by the time you finish that list, who's to say you don't even like the idea anymore? And the idea could have been something that you really enjoyed, but then here you are adding all these things that could happen, and it could kind of like deter you from that. So I do, like I said, I agree with having a plan, and but don't be so committed to that plan. Don't be so committed to that list that you have of pros and cons of an idea that you end up not even going along with it.
And you know, you can be aware of the scary things or the things that could give an individual anxiety. It doesn't mean having the awareness of it, you should be afraid. It's just having the awareness of it in the first place helps you be able to deal with the possibilities to come. And to me, it kind of goes hand in hand with having the correct mental state, you know, coming from a person that's competitive, you know. For example, for my fighters, you know, if you don't study your opponent, uh, you don't know their type of stance, if they're a grappler or a southpaw, you know, and you just jump into the fight not knowing their techniques, you know, that's a weakness to me. Also, not being in that headspace that you're actually ready to go into that ring or go into the octagon and put up a fight, whether you whatever technique you use, whether it's listening to music or working out or taking a run, whatever headspace that that you need to be in, you need to be there. Because if not, you've already lost the fight before you even walked in.
One, I wouldn't. Okay, that's a different example. Like fighting, obviously, you know what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, you I think it's more important to know that you're ready versus the other stuff. Like I feel like if you know that you're ready and you don't have any doubts, I feel like there's nothing that you can't achieve. So that's definitely a good example of like for instance you said studying the opponent's style. That's different. But I'm going towards things like we decide to do in life. I would say something like training for a sports competition, having a child, marriage. Those are the things that you want to sit down and really, you know, get into detail about what it is that it encompasses. But most things in life, I just feel like it's all about mindset. It's all about getting ready to getting ready. It's all about getting ready to get ready. It's all about your energy and how you carry yourself. It's all about how you flow with life and not going against the current, in my opinion. So, with anything I do now, I I used to obsess with researching to the point where now I'm scared to do this thing, but now it's like I get a brief overview of what it is and that's enough for me. I get myself prepared. It's mostly about self-preparation, and we know that this world that we live in, this reality that we live in, these multiple realities that we live in, or multiple worlds and dimensions that we live in, it's mental. Not most of it is mental. So I just I don't have a lot of stern beliefs, but the beliefs that I do have is energy, having your getting your frequency together, separating yourself from people that will continue that will constantly separating yourself from people that constantly bring you down to a level that you're not even that you don't want to be at. And we know that negative emotion is any time that we get away from our soul purpose and our inner being and that voice that we all have. I don't care how many people, I don't care how harmful that you try to be, how hurtful that you are. I don't care what you've done. There's his voice that that wants us to be the best us, that wants to reach to our higher selves. I guess people call it higher selves as well. Well, people do call it higher selves. We all have a higher self, no matter how far we stray away from that being.
And I can understand how you say it's a different thing. It's a different approach towards, being prepared for an opponent compared to different life aspects. But to me, it's the same thing because whatever you do, whether it is preparing for a fight or any other examples that you use, you're putting yourself in a mode so you could be ready, so you could be your best self to pursue whatever action that is.
So let's use the example as having a podcast. What would be your reason to ponder upon all these reasons?
Elaborate, please.
So what I'm saying is, you use the example of having to train for a match. Why would you think you need to train, for lack of a better word, for doing a podcast?
So in my own words, it wouldn't be an actual training in the same way of getting your body in shape. You may have to get your mental in shape or get yourself in the right mood, you know what I'm saying, to be ready to record, to actually sit down and record content, you know what I'm saying. It's the same to me. You still putting yourself in a mode where you're ready to sit down and record that podcast. Now, how it could be done, everybody's different. Everybody's their own person. It depends on the actual individual, how they get into that mode.
But my point is, for instance, if you everybody, I know like it seems like everybody's starting a podcast, but having a podcast is not for everybody. Like seriously, the only people I could see to have a podcast is if you are mouth almighty and you have a lot of shit to say. And like I'm a type of person, I have a lot of shit to say. I have an opinion, and I feel as though my opinion is coming from a place of love most of the time. Of course, we're all biased and we all judge, but I have a lot to say. So I feel as though I could just hop on the mic, even if I'm feeling not the best, or even, you know what I mean? Like it's not taking me a lot to prepare myself because, like you guys know, I'm in therapy. So that means if I come, I might feel shitty at the beginning of that conversation, and I talk it out and I feel so much better. So I feel like it's okay that we show our raw selves. We show the unprepared selves. Like, why do we have to make all this effort in preparing and getting your mental straight to talk, just to simply talk and have a conversation? You see what I'm saying? We have conversations with our friends and we're not on our best selves. We sit and complain with our friends. You know what I'm saying? We don't prepare to complain. We literally are observing contrast in our life and we're deciding to speak about it. So this, to me, and it could just be a me thing, and it could be because Brandon's who he is. I don't need to prepare myself to talk to you guys. This is something that I want to do each day. I feel like each day I wake up, no matter if I'm sad, if I'm crying, if I feel like my world is crashing down, there's something that I know in my heart that could benefit someone just by expressing it and letting it out. Every time I get on this podcast, it's not always peaches and cream. I'm not always having the best time, but at the end of the day, it's almost like alchemizing the pain and turning it into something beneficial. I feel as though the pain that I went through is not going to go. It's not going to just go out at a spite. I didn't go through these things for no reason. It's to put forth for a better future for those around me. Because at the end of the day, when I'm gone out of this physical body, my words will still remain here, and somebody still may click on a video, or somebody, you know what I'm saying? Somebody may be looking for an answer, and I want that to carry on. I want my legacy to be that I inspired people through all the things that I went through. I was an inspiration. So, I just want to encourage people to live your life. Don't always think that you have to have, you know what I'm saying, a super huge plan or step-by-step instructions or train until you know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, we don't know if our days is promised. We don't know if our days is promised for the next hour. So get out what you want to do. Get out what it is you need to say. Fail at shit. Not be good at shit. Give yourself time to fuck up, because at the end of the day, if you don't make those mistakes, if you don't have those lessons, give yourself a time to make mistakes and to mess up and to fall down, because at the end of the day, that's what creates a better you. If you were born and you made no mistakes, there would be no evolution. So don't be afraid of evolving. Take your time, but also move. You know what I'm saying? Take your time doesn't also mean halt until you're ready, because at the end of the day, who's to say you'll ever be ready? Or who's to say that you even know what being ready feels like? When we jump into things, I hope you can recognize that that it's something that you want to do. And I hope that you recognize that you don't have to do it for anybody else. If you have an idea and it's something you've been thinking about and it makes you feel good doing it. Don't get stuck up in, what could happen, or let me make sure I'm extra prepared, because that takes the fun out of life and it takes the being out of life. We call ourselves human beings, but we're really just human doers. We're really just so action oriented when it comes to that. Just be, because really being is what you came to do. You came to be yourself. You didn't come to be rigid and strict guidelines. You came to have fun and enjoy it too. So you might as well, by doing the weird, funky things that you like to do. Thank you guys for joining me and my husband here at Pounded Peace. I know a lot of the topics that we talk about are maybe triggering. So we just wanted to have a lighthearted conversation, in the mix of everything that's going on. Thank you guys.
And at the end of the day, whatever you do, be the best version of yourself, so you are better than anybody else that's doing it. And this is how content is made. Us having different perspectives on things, appreciate all the love and frequent active followers. If you made it this far in the video, please like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you can get notifications next time we drop a podcast.